Hello and welcome to the Franchise Tag Podcast betting show. We are joined again by Adam. No Sky this week. So just me and Adam talking about betting, taking you through those odds for the divisions. Today we are doing the South. So the AFC NFC South, which could be interesting talks. There's got to be some wacky odds in here, surely. Adam, as always, we have a little chat before we start. Couple of free agency moves. We've had Dalvin Cook sign, and we've had Zeke sign. One to the Jets, one to the Patriots. Thoughts on that?
Yeah, a bit. Well, I mean, obviously, Dalvin Cook going to the Jets. The Jets have suddenly got lots of money because Aaron Rodgers has suddenly become generous all of a sudden and willing to maybe take a little bit less money. Interesting, isn't it? In a new place, willing to just take that little bit extra away from him and help the team win. Imagine what that would have been like in Green Bay. Would have been lovely. But yeah, I mean, Dalvin Cook's there, isn't he? To basically, I think probably mean that they don't have to rush Brees Hall back. Is probably what that's all about. And Zeke going to the Patriots, just meh, you know.
Yeah, I think when they're two big high-profile names, and when you look at where they've gone, one makes sense and one doesn't really make sense. Dalvin Cook's going to go to the Jets and improve that team and make it look better. Maybe Aaron is more inclined to take pay cuts and say to the guys, go and get me a little toy to play with. And they go, okay, yeah, and we get you a toy. Whereas if he was at the Packers and he went, I'll take a pay cut, go and get me a toy to play with, they'd come back with defensive linemen.
Yeah, well, I think that's fair, isn't it? You got to help the defense. I tell you what, probably the biggest problem is that Dalvin Cook and players like Dalvin Cook are probably much more willing to go and spend a year, maybe a bit longer, in New York than they are in Cheeseland. So maybe that's the problem.
That's also very true as well. And yeah, as we said, the Zeke one, I think he has relevancy on a team that needs him. I don't see how he's going to improve the Patriots.
Well, he will a little bit because obviously, he's still got a bit left, doesn't he? Zeke? You can kind of see he's still got a bit. They've got Ramondre Stevenson, and then after that, it does kind of fall away a little bit. So I can kind of see where their logic is. I think he will improve him a little bit. I just don't think it will suddenly mean that they'll win games
or even qualify from that division.
No.
Well, that's enough of the running backs moving around. I think there's been chatter about Fournette. Maybe has he gone to try out somewhere? I don't know. Well, that's enough of the
probably.
That's enough of the running backs. Let's get on to what we're here for, and that's the betting odds. Adam, add. There we are. Where do you want to go first?
So, figure we start with the AFC normally. So we'll go AFC South. The Jacksonville Jaguars are odds on to win. Whoever thought we'd be saying that? Not that long ago. They were struggling like anything. But they are 5-8 to win this division. Tennessee Titans are 16-5. The Indianapolis Colts are 6-1, and the Houston Texans are 8-1. Now, this really does feel like a two-horse race. And ironically, the horse is not involved in it. So, the Jaguars at 5-8, it kind of feels like they have finally got themselves in a position, got themselves into the playoffs last year, got a playoff win as well. And you feel like they should be capable of winning this division. They haven't. I mean, they've got to play the AFC North teams, so that's going to be tough for them. But the rest of it is the NFC South, which we'll talk about later. They're not the hardest teams in the world in the NFC South to be playing against, to be honest. So it feels like they should be capable of winning this. However, I do really like the price of the Tennessee Titans at 16-5. I think now that they've gone and got themselves Hopkins, I think that's a massive boost for them. It means that Treylon Burks doesn't have to be the number one guy, and he can be a number two, which I think they seem to be saying he's fit. He's looking much better this year. I think that'll be good for them. They've got a good tight end who we both like in Chiga Okonkwo. And, Tannehill isn't the worst quarterback in the world. A lot of people have a go at him, but he's not the worst. And they've still got Derrick Henry doing what Derrick Henry does. So that offense is capable. Defense, maybe not amazing, but still solid. And any team that's got Mike Vrabel coaching it has got a good shout of getting pretty far. So for me, I completely understand why the Jags are favourites. The Jags should win the division. They should. But that Titans price is big, and I think being able to add someone like Hopkins, I think he's still got it, and he's still going to be a very good guy. So yeah, I like the look of the Titans at 16-5.
Yeah, but before we came on air, we were talking about teams that you'd be shocked didn't make the playoffs, and I think the Jags fall into that category for me in terms of teams that, when we say shocked, they wouldn't qualify. It's ones that think might be a bit fringe, not the obvious ones. And I think they should be a lock-in. I think they should be a cert to win this. But for me, they could be the one that lets me down and doesn't perform to what we think they should be, which is blowing this division out of the water and winning it easy. As you've said, the Titans, it wasn't that long ago, we were talking about them dominating this division. And they had a bit of a clear out last year. And we said, well, they've got no wide receivers. What they're doing, they haven't replaced AJ Brown. They've got DeAndre Hopkins now. They've got Peter Skronsky to help that O-line. And Derrick Henry stays fit. Yeah, why not the Titans still challenge? It could be that case. I don't think personally the Texans are anywhere near ready to compete with those two teams. I think they're just trying to find their feet and find what they've got and build there. Maybe just have a season where they look like they can compete. Is there a chance that every year we say Colts could be a dark horse? Colts could take this. Colts could look good. They change the quarterback every year, and we still say they've got great pieces on defense, great couple of good youngsters on offense, good running game. Yeah, we know there's the Jonathan Taylor saga. But is there any chance that the Colts, now no one's talking about them, have a good year?
Nope. No.
Okay. Well, that was easy evaluated. Any reason why you think that?
We've been saying for years about the Colts, about how the defense is good. That defense is now getting older, and that's a problem for them. So there's that side to it. You've got a rookie quarterback. You're not going to win a division with it's very rare that you're going to win a division with a rookie quarterback. Certainly one who you well know in college was pretty hit and miss. So it's going to take a lot, I think, for something like that to happen. You have the issues with Jonathan Taylor, which is not great at the moment. And I think the one thing, with all of these running backs where there's been issues about them playing or not playing, the fact is if they're not playing and they're not practicing, they're not going to be fit to go. They just won't be, not 100% for the first game. And so that's going to be an issue. I don't think the pieces they have at the wide receiver core and tight end are of equal talent compared to the Jags or the Titans now. So I think that's the problem. They just haven't quite got it. Alec Pierce had an okay rookie season. I thought he did all right, but that's your number two. Michael Pittman, to be honest, pretty much disappeared last year. He really struggled, and I just don't see it happening for him. I'm afraid, and maybe it's being burnt too many times by him. But I don't see it. The over under on the match wins for them is 6.5. I mean, I think that tells you quite a lot. And although I think they would be capable of getting 7 wins, I think they could do it. 4 to 5 for the over, evens for the under. It doesn't particularly interest me that much with the Colts. I don't really think there's much there for them this year. I think it's a practice year for Richardson, isn't it?
Yeah, I think they've become a little bit dysfunctional, back office, and that never bodes well for you for the duration of the season, does it?
No.
More things come out of the woodwork, bad decisions get made, blame gets pushed around. I think they're still in that category for me, despite the talent I know they've got. But yeah, for me, I'm sticking with the Jags. It should be the Jags. So
the Jags should win it. I mean, the other one with the Jags is on the over under. They're at 9.5 for match wins. I think they should do over 9.5. Personally, they should be hitting 10 wins this year. It's 5 to 7, so it's not a particularly big price. The one that I do like the look of, obviously, as I've already said about the Titans, the over under is 7.5. I think that's definitely achievable, and definitely one that I think that they will hit. It's 4 to 5 again, so it's not a massive price, but I like the look of that. But yeah, to be honest, when it comes to the Colts and the Texans, I know there are people out there that will probably look at the unders for these sort of teams. I mean, the Texans under 5.5 is 13 to 10, but that's a lot of games that you've got to lose. So, I mean, I know they're not in the position to be winning much, but it will be tough for them though, because like I say, they're playing the AFC North. I can't see them beating any of them at the AFC North. I think they're going to struggle against the Jags and Titans. They might be able to split with the Colts or beat the Colts possibly, but I mean, and then you've got the NFC South, where it's like the teams again not great at the moment, but you feel like these teams should be capable of beating a team like the Texans. The 13 to 10 does seem appealing. It's just a very low total of only 5.
I mean, strength of schedule says that they've all got fairly easy schedules. That mainly because they've probably all got to play each other. So that probably plays a lot into it. What were the Texans?
Texans was 5, and so the over unders at 5.5. So the under at 13 to 10 is probably the one that I kind of like the most. But yeah, I mean, the one that I really like is Titans to go over 7.5. I think that's one that I feel like they should do relatively easily, personally.
Yeah, we always talk about them every year. As you said, with Vrabel, that you can never write them off. He's had multiple years where that roster's not been good enough to dominate, and it has. So he is
it's the Dan Campbell thing, isn't it? It's what we were saying previously in a different episode about the Lions. It's the same thing.
So yeah, definitely the safe money for me again. Like similar to what we said with the Vikings, until I see them tank and do rubbish and not look good at all. I'm still gonna look at them as potentials and put my money near them and on them for stuff. So yeah, I'm not writing them off yet. So I think that's the sensible money, because there's just nothing really payback wise with the Jags, is there?
No, not really. I mean, it's very short. I mean, they should win the division. To be honest, they should win it. If you want to put it in an accumulator, I wouldn't put you off at all. just to sort of like bulk it up. So I think that's definitely one you could go for. But yeah, it doesn't. 5-8 as a single doesn't really appeal that much in a division where I do genuinely think the Titans could come out and do something there. So
yeah, we always say there's money to be had in the top twos. We always take a look at them. We always go to them. There's usually one of these bets in Adam's final thoughts of his top two bets to have from the whole episode. Even money.
yeah, I mean, you're doubling your money. It's to be honest, I would argue it's probably one of the best bets that you can have, because I just don't see the other two getting near. To be honest, I just think that the Jaguars and Titans are so much better than what the Colts or the Titans are. You do double your money on it. It's not a big price, but it feels like a fairly guaranteed one. I mean, obviously nothing's guaranteed, but it does feel like I would think you would have to have either a serious injury to someone like Trevor Lawrence or Derrick Henry in order for that not to happen.
Yeah, with the age of Henry, that there's the likelihood.
Yeah, I mean, it is plausible that it could happen, but I just out of all of the choices, it feels a pretty nailed on one.
Yeah, the only one outside of that I'd look at is Jags Colts, in the fact that the Titans do come unstuck this season. But I think you're right. Stick with the even money in that. I think, or leave it alone, because it's the payback's not, if the payback's not big enough for you. But that is the safe money, isn't it? Definitely.
Yeah, it's really. I mean, I hear what you're saying, but personally, I think it's the only option. I just don't see the Colts or the Texans getting near them.
In no sensible world should you be banking on Tannehill going out and then bringing in Willis. They got Malik Willis.
Yes.
And Henry getting injured and them having no contingency plan whatsoever. Banking on that happening is not sensible when you're talking about putting real money on things. So stick with the sensible bet, and the even money it will get you where you want to be. That's a quick division to go through, isn't it? Not a lot.
I think you're going to find that both the South divisions are going to be quick divisions.
Yeah. Well, let's move on to the NFC. See what you've got there.
Yeah, so the NFC South, we've got the New Orleans Saints at 6-5, the Atlanta Falcons 11-5, Carolina Panthers at 4-1, and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers at 7-1. Now, this division, that I haven't checked the strength of schedule for these teams, but if these teams have not got the easiest schedules, I will be amazed, because they are playing the NFC North, which I can assure you is not filled with a lot of quality, and the AFC South, which we have just spoken about in a record time. So it kind of goes to show that there's not much against them.
Do you want to know the where they're sat?
Go for it.
So the Saints have the easiest schedule of everybody in the NFL. The Falcons have the second easiest schedule of everybody in the NFL. The Panthers have the fourth easiest schedule. And the Buccaneers, where are you?
At the bottom.
Where are the 17th? So usually when I've been going through the divisions of where they're sat, they're kind of like in a small category together, as you've seen. What 1, 2, and 4.
Yeah.
Who are the Buccaneers got?
Well, this is why the Buccaneers are well, it's not the only reason the Buccaneers are 7-1, but it's one of the reasons they're 7-1. So really, with this division, it does feel like there is a genuine opportunity here for a couple of these teams to be able to do something. The obvious one is the Saints at 6-5. I think it probably will be the Saints. I have to say, I think they've got the best I think they've got the best defense of the division. I think they've got the best quarterback in the division, and that is probably going to be enough in order for them to get through. I do really like the Falcons. I think the Falcons are going to be good this year, and they're definitely going to be worth looking at. But I just think the Saints, even with Kamara out for a few weeks, and I think Olave is going to absolutely fly this year. I think he's going to be huge. I think Michael Thomas being fit apparently is going to be a bonus for them. And Shaheed? I think we saw at the back end of last year just how good he can be. I think they've got some real quality on that team. And I think it's probably just going to be too much against the others.
Yeah, I mean, I often listen to Colin Cowherd, knows what he's on about. He always says when he looks at divisions or he looks at who's going to win, he bets on who's got the best quarterback, and that is solely it. Not what pieces they've got or they've got a better running back, or whatever. Solely who's got the better quarterback. And for me, the only team that's got a quarterback we know what they can do is the Saints. And not only that,
in fairness, we know what Baker Mayfield can do.
Yeah, precisely. 7-1. So, and he's got some really nice pieces around him. As you said, that trio of wide receivers plus Taysom Hill, possibly being used sensibly this year, could factor into it as well. And they have picked up a couple of really nice defenders in the draft in Foskey and Breesy. So I think the Saints are, for me, it's theirs to lose. If the Panthers and the Falcons step up, then fair enough, you've done great and you've trumped them. But it's the Saints to lose it. I personally think the Panthers have got more. What am I looking for here? Experienced youngsters that have played together a longer time to build on than the Falcons have. I think the Falcons have got a lot of exciting youngsters, but have only been in the league 1 or 2 years. Do you think that the Panthers could sneak up with and surprise you, or are you sold on the Falcons?
See, before I looked at it all, I was pretty sold on the Falcons. I just think they have a game plan and it's effective. And I think they're going to keep doing that. And I think that's the reason that you're going to find that they're going to win quite a lot of games this year. As I said, as we mentioned, pretty easy schedule for all of these teams, really, apart from the Bucks. And I think that's probably the reason that you're going to see it. I just think that they're going to be able to dominate people through the run game. Bijan, I think, is going to be great. They've got Tyler Algier there, who is going to be great as well when he's on there. And you've got Patterson as well still there. So that run game is really strong. The O-line is good. They've brought in some really decent pieces on the defense. There was I can't remember which one it was, the guy from the Bengals, sort of safety, Jesse Bates.
Jesse Bates, yeah.
Yeah, Jesse Bates has gone there. That's going to improve their secondary by miles, which is an area that they've always struggled in. They brought in a corner through the draft, either last year or this year. I can't remember, but he was pretty good.
They brought over Jeff Okudah, who I absolutely love, from Ohio State.
Yeah, they got him from the He
didn't work at the Lions, but he was standing out at college not that long ago.
So I think the Falcons are probably going to just do enough to beat off the Panthers, predominantly because Bryce Young, rookie, is going to struggle a little bit. I think the Panthers' defense is probably better than the Falcons, but I just don't see him putting up the points.
A lot of older guys up for the Falcons: Bud Dupree, Grady Jarrett, Onyemata, and Calais Campbell. but definitely stronger than what they have been in previous years. And as you said, they seem to have found an identity now, haven't they, the Falcons? Which is what maybe trumps them over the Panthers, because that run game, they've really honed in on it and decided that's where they're going to go down. And the Panthers are still working out what they are, despite the fact they've got some really good youngsters on the defense that we were talking about 2 years ago, saying how good they were and how they were going to impact and progress, and then they didn't, because their offense didn't really take them to where they needed to. So, should we have a look at the over and unders?
Yeah, so the Falcons actually are over and under is 8.5. I think that the over for that is definitely something they can do. It's 4 to 5, so it's not massive, but yeah, I like the Falcons on the over at that price. Saints are at 9.5. I think, as we've come out and said, the schedule is just decent for them. Even money for them to get 10 wins, I think they could do it, to be honest. I don't really think they're playing. I mean, they've got some rough teams they're playing, so it's like I think they're capable of doing that. So I like them at evens. The Bucks at 6.5, I don't see them hitting it, but it's 5 to 7 to be under, which is very short. I'd probably leave that one alone. And then the final one, the Carolina Panthers, over under 7.5. Again, I think they've probably got the line right, to be honest, on that one. I think they could probably end up hitting around 7 or 8. So I probably would avoid that one as well. But the Falcons and the Saints, especially given the strength of schedule, it feels like that they are two definite overs, with the Saints actually probably being the one that I like the most, given the fact that it's even money.
Yeah, I've not got really much to say about the over and under. So the first show we did, I came up with a nice little interesting thing for you to go and Google with Deuce Vaughn at the Cowboys, which we all had a good bit of entertainment when I posted it into our group chat. Have you seen how stacked Derek Carr has got?
I haven't, no.
Wow, you should probably have to check it out on the social media. That guy is ripped now. So
I think that Carr might have a bit of a point to prove as well. Like now that he's finally come away from Vegas and stuff like that, I do think that there's going to be a bit of that to it. And yeah, I think they've got the talent there, and I could see them doing well this year.
Yeah, it's about time he got the love somewhere, isn't it? He's been such a patron to the Raiders and really done everything he can for them and got nothing in return. So I think the Saints fans will get on board with him, just as they did with Drew Brees. So I'm rooting for him to have an absolutely great season. I think he's one of them that people really like him and want him to do well. Should we take a look at the top twos?
Yeah, so the top two, as I've kind of said with the others, the Buccaneers are just kind of out of it a bit. I mean, we haven't really spoken about them much, but then unfortunately there's not much really to say. I think that Evans and Godwin will still be good quality wide receivers, but the guy throwing it to them unfortunately isn't, and that's the problem for them. So I don't really see them getting into it. The fact that it's the first year for Bryce Young, I think is probably going to be enough to stop anything from happening. I like the Falcons and the Saints. It's 7 to 5. It's not huge, but I think that Falcons run game will make them win games. And as we've said with the Saints, that they're favourites to win it, and I think they probably will. So yeah, the 7 to 5 there, it kind of feels like the obvious, but it is for a reason. So yeah, I mean that's pretty much it, really.
Yeah, we haven't really give the Buccaneers any time on this.
Well, there's not a lot of.
It's not, like in the previous shows, we've kind of come up with an argument for the big bet and kind of laughed it off at the end. But we've kind of gave some knowledge behind why we think they could overcome the odds. I don't think you can even Kyle Trask turns out to be insane and comes in. I don't know.
I don't think there's much there for the Bucks. I think I do wonder if this is potentially a year. And I know we've said this before in a previous episode. We mentioned about the Commanders, didn't we?
Mm-hmm.
I think this is a year where there is one very special quarterback coming out in the draft after this year, and I think there's going to be a bit of a race to the bottom, shall we say, to try and get him, or at least get into a position where you can trade to get him. And I think the Buccaneers might be one of them teams this year.
Yeah, there's a few more NFL styled ready quarterbacks, isn't there, that you can maybe get their hands on next year in the draft. So yeah, it's not going to bode badly for them to have a year near the bottom and rebuild, because they're not far. That would then put them in a position where they're not far behind the rebuild of the Falcons and the rebuild of the Panthers, and that's where they need to get to try and get back to where they were a couple of years ago. So are you throwing all your money up? Oh, I've just looked at it. The odds are really good on it as well. 7-5 Falcons Saints.
Yeah, like I say, I mean, it's not huge, but it's you're more than doubling your money on it. I would probably be slightly more inclined to. I feel like this is probably more of a certainty than what the Jags Tennessee Titans one was at even money. So I'd probably be more up for this one at 7-5. I think this is. I can't see the Panthers being able to compete just purely because Bryce Young is in his first year, and it's going to take him time. And obviously the Buccaneers just aren't in a position at the moment with Baker Mayfield or Kyle Trask.
I mean, Bryce Young is a very, very smart kid and one of the most accurate passers I've seen at college. So, I mean, there is the chance that he could.
Yeah, I mean, it's entirely possible. It's entirely possible that he hits the ground running and it works. But it just feels like the run game of the Falcons, I think, is just going to be too strong for a lot of teams, and I think the Saints are just going to be that much better than all of them anyway. So, yeah,
I'd say it was a stretch for me to put the Panthers up there, and would I can't steer away from those odds of 7-5 for the Saints and the Falcons. I think that's like really good money. That is for something that we're both very confident in putting out there. So yeah, I think I know where you're going to go when I say Adam. What are your two bets? Your final thoughts? What are your two bets that you're definitely putting your money on?
I think the 7-5 on that is the first one, and then after that, I think. I personally, I do like. I think that the certainty is the 6-5 for the Saints. I think to win that is quite a certainty. But I just like the price of the Titans at 16-5. I just think that they're capable of doing it, and it'd probably be a bit of a smaller bet on that one. But I just feel like with Hopkins there and Henry there, if they can both stay fit, which, to be honest, I mean, neither of them have had injury issues before. It feels like they could really push the Titans quite far. It's not an accumulator pick at all, but I think that's definitely at that price worth going for.
Well, we've got one more division to go after this, so hopefully we've got some winners in here, surely. So hopefully you join us for our last group of divisions, and then we've got a special show coming up after that with the props. So all of our defensive rookies of the year, offensive MVPs, comebacks, all the ones where the big money can be won. I think that's where you can really take a punt on someone you really like, and it come through. That's all we've got time for tonight. Adam, thanks for joining me. Till next time, guys. Goodbye.